Well, now let's move on to verse 9 of Zechariah chapter 13. And it says in the beginning of the verse, "And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried." Well, we're not surprised by this language. We have seen that hand in hand with Judgment Day goes the trial of the faith of God's elect. Let me read this verse again in Psalm 11. This verse is really giving us a great deal of information in verses 5 and 6. "Jehovah trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence his soul hateth. Upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire, and brimstone, and a horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup." On one hand, how does God begin it? Jehovah trieth the righteous. On the other hand, it is the cup of wrath for the unsaved. And actually, that's what we want to look at. We're going to find that it has long been God's plan, and presently is, to try His people with an intense spiritual fire during the day of judgment. The spiritual fire of Judgment Day burns up the wicked. That's the illustration the Bible uses. They're like tares or chaff that is burned in the fire. But the same fire, or at least we're going through the same period of time during these days after that tribulation. So the same fire does not burn up the saints of God, the true believers, but it accomplishes another purpose. The spiritual fire does not destroy God's elect, but it purifies them. It refines them. And let's look at that in Daniel chapter 11. Daniel 11, it says in verse 31, "And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice," is in italics, "and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate." Now right away, God has given us a signpost that we can know exactly what He's talking about, because Matthew 24 quotes the book of Daniel and speaks of the abomination that maketh desolate standing in the holy place where it ought not. And that is in the context of Christ answering the disciples' question, "What shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" So it's the Great Tribulation. This is the context of what we're going to read in Daniel 11 in the following verses. Verse 32. "And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits." So Satan, of course, corrupted many through his wickedness, but God's people were strong in the Lord and in the power of His might, and certainly did exploits in sending forth the gospel to all the world. And then verse 33, "And they that understand among the people shall instruct many." Now who is it that understands? The wise understand, and the wise are the elect. And is it true? Did we not witness the wise, a few, with a ministry like Family Radio, instruct many all over the earth through the electronic medium, through the advertising campaign to broadcast the message of the Bible's Judgment Day of May 21, 2011 to all the nations of the world? Well, yes, in an incredible way, an unprecedented way. It certainly is true that they that understand among the people instructed many. And then it goes on, "Yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days." Verse 34, "Now when they shall fall, they shall be holpen with a little help. But many shall cleave to them with flatteries, and some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, and to purge, and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed." Now verse 35 is up to date as anything in the Bible could be. it is basically a description of the events of May 21 and these days after. Why is that? Well, read it again. And some of them of understanding, really, the word some is in italics, it should be, and of them of understanding shall fall. Now, what happened on May 21? Well, you see, the people of the Lord broadcasted the message of judgment to the world, but in absolute terms. And we had some things in error. We thought there would be a literal judgment day. We thought there would be a horrible physical destruction lasting for 5 months and then the end of the world. Well, we were wrong. There was no physical earthquake. There was no physical period of torment, and the world did not end at the end of 5 months. Now, by God's grace, we have answers to all these errors. We have searched the Bible and we found biblical solutions to all these things. And yet, from this verse, I think we can say pretty definitively that it was God's plan all along to allow His people to hold on to some faulty ideas. And of course it was, because God's in complete control of what we can understand, and if He holds back anything, we'll never understand it. And certainly He held a couple of things back. Not the key information, that it would be Judgment Day and the door would shut and there was a desperate need to get right with Him before that happened. That was all correct. But with some other information, such as the earthquake, because as soon as May 21 came and the ground did not shake under the people of the world's feet, well, in their sight, all those who proclaim these things, those of understanding, fell. They fell. And also, of those that were proclaiming these things, that believed them, at least intellectually, and that shared this information with other people in the world, this would begin their trial. Notice it says, and of them of understanding shall fall to try them. That is, there is a purpose behind the fall of those of understanding. It is to begin a period of trial, the trying of their faith. Well, how could that be? Well, you can see it when things didn't work out exactly, when it began to be taught that it was a spiritual judgment. Oh, right away, some shook their heads. Oh no, I've had enough. I want nothing more to do with these ideas from the Bible. I want nothing more to do with those who taught these ideas with anything like this, and they tried to separate themselves, to distance themselves as much as possible. Why? Well, some of it had to do with their pride, with the embarrassment, because they publicly proclaimed these things in their families and neighborhoods, and now they felt like they were a laughingstock. They were angry. They were upset with this whole idea from the Bible of Judgment Day. It made them look like a fool. And in this, what is God doing? He is prying. He is prodding. He is testing the heart of individuals. Do you have pride in your heart? Do you still have a proud heart where you're embarrassed to associate with the Lord Jesus Christ and His Word? After all, it must be said that these things came from the Bible, and the world was stunned because they heard a message from the Bible of judgment. For the first time, that message was placed in the forefront of the eyes of the nations of the world like never before. And so those that identified with that message were targets after the day had come and things had not happened as supposed. And so it set up a perfect arena for God to test His people, to try their faith. Now just look at Daniel 12, verse 10. And God actually has been telling us this all along of what His plan was. Many shall be purified and made white and tried. He said it again. It's part of the end-time plan of God to try the faith of the elect and of those that associate with the elect, to put them to the test of the fire to see if their faith is genuine. And it goes on to say, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand.